Hey there, my name's Ashley and I'm the Galley Gourmet. For years and years I lived in New York and Boston in tiny apartments. And within those tiny apartments they had tiny kitchens, and some of them were literally like a hole in the wall where you'd open up a cabinet and you'd have a couple of burners there, and you kind of make do. And throughout that time I actually went to culinary school and started working in the food industry, and I really learned over those years how to actually make good meals fairly quickly within those tiny kitchen spaces. So fast forward a few years later and we actually bought a boat, and right now we are on a catamaran in the Caribbean. Right now we're in St. Martin, but we've been island hopping for a little bit. And once again I'm actually cooking in a tiny kitchen. This time it's actually called a galley kitchen, which in New York it's called a galley kitchen because it's similar to a boat kitchen, and now I'm actually cooking in a galley kitchen. So I thought it would be really great to teach everybody some tips and tricks in terms of cooking in small kitchens, because there are a lot of things that you can do to make it better for yourself, cleaner, and faster as well. So that's what we're going to be doing. So our first dish that we're going to do is a Thai red curry. What I love about curry is that you find it all over the world. It's everywhere, and there are all these different kinds of curries, and each curry is unique with its own blend of spices. But what I like about it is it's unifying in the sense that everyone in the world actually makes curry, but it's also very diverse and that everyone has their own take. So I think that's pretty neat. So for a Thai red curry, here is going to be our ingredients list. We've got onion, red pepper, cilantro, green onion, lime, garlic, ginger, Scotch bonnet if you want it, but these are super hot. You can use jalapeno if you want, but you can also, if you're not a hot person, just cut out the spices altogether. Coconut oil, coconut milk, pepper, and then these are extra ingredients you don't need to add, but they do add flavor. So we've got a rice wine vinegar here and a fish sauce. The fish sauce we'll talk about later. It's kind of a stinky smell, but adds a lot of depth of flavor, which is why it's in the bag right now. And then in terms of our proteins, we're going to do shrimp today as well as a snapper. You can really do whatever kind of a protein you want, but today we actually caught a snapper from the boat, which was awesome, so we're going to do those. But you can do chicken. You can also make it a vegetarian meal. What I love about this red curry dish is you can kind of make it whatever you want. You can throw everything in your pantry but the kitchen sink in, or you can keep it really minimalistic, just depending on how much time you want and what ingredients you have in your pantry or in your fridge. Alright, so let's get started. So in terms of this dish, and it's funny, when we moved down to the Caribbean, I had to pack basically whatever kitchen ingredients I could in our bag. So in a bag that would go under the plane. So I really couldn't bring a lot, and it made me think about what do you really need. One of the most important thing in a kitchen is your knife. And if you're going to spend any money on a kitchen ingredient or your kitchen tool, spend it on your knife. So I typically use shun knives. There are a lot of great knives out there, but I just personally love shun knives. So I have an 8-inch chef's knife here. I would recommend that. 10 inches is a little too big, 6 inches is a little too small. This is the right size, I think. For us also, we're going to use a garlic press. Again, I don't like to have a lot of kitchen appliances. I think it just clutters up your kitchen. This is a good one, as well as a lemon juicer. This I use all the time because if you don't want the pits in your meal, and so you're juicing it over your hand, and it just, if you have a cut, Jesus, that doesn't feel very good, etc. So, and then we're gonna have a spatula, and then just this cup to measure out our rice. So first things first, we're going to use basmati rice with this. Basmati is great because it just has a wonderful light flavor. This red curry dish is going to be very strong in terms of the flavor, so the basmati is nice because it has kind of a light floral flavor, and it'll complement the strength of the red curry really well. Okay, so 2 pots the whole time. One's for rice and one's going to be for the red curry. Typically rice is 1 portion of rice to 2 portions of water or broth or whatever you want to use. So I'm going to put 1 cup of rice in here. we're going to do 2 cups of water. Now, depending on what dish you can do, you can add bouillon to your rice as well, which adds nice flavor. I'm just going to leave it as it is because, as I said, our dish is actually going to have a ton of flavor in it. Alright, so we've got those in. You can see under this, I'll pull it out for you. This is called a diffuser. Now, they come in all shapes and sizes, but I really like these because they basically provide a bridge between the flame and the rice. Oftentimes you're going to see that your rice is burned on the bottom because there's just too much flame on the bottom while you're cooking the rice. This actually just spreads it out and diffuses it, hence the word diffuser. So it's a great little tool to have. I think this was maybe €3 or something like that. So we're going to put that back on. And we're going to get the flame going. These guys are always so weird in terms of boats. You have to actually turn it on and light it yourself, which took some getting used to, but we're getting there. And then just hold it for a sec to get it going. So first things first, rice goes on first because it's going to take 15 minutes, this whole dish, and then it can rest. This dish takes maybe 25 total. Okay, so we're just going to push these guys over and start. So we're going to go with onion first. Onion is really the base of almost all dishes, especially in French cooking. You'll see that onion, garlic, and some herbs are typically the undercurrent of all of the flavors in the sauce. So another good tip is to have a garbage bowl. I learned this years and years ago, and it really makes a big difference when you're in a small kitchen to have something like this. Otherwise, you're making a mess everywhere. I remember in culinary school, it was the one thing I always got points off for was you're just a little too messy. So I've learned to use the garbage bowl over the years. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make little thin slices of the onion. So you can see here, just a little thin slice. You can really do however you want, but what I would suggest is that when you're cooking, you make sure that all of your vegetables, for example, are kind of the same shape and size. It just looks better, and it also makes it so that it cooks a lot more evenly. Okay, so there's one guy, and then we're just going to do the other guy quickly. Alright, so done. Onion is done. As I said, coconut oil is another ingredient. This is magical. I love coconut oil, and it's in so many curry dishes. The basics of curry: coconut oil, vegetables, curry spices, and then coconut milk. And that's kind of it, and then you can add what you want. So it's really nice in that sense. So we're going to get our other pan going. Same thing, fire it on up, give it a minute to go. And then we're going to start with our other vegetables. And I've already actually cut up our snapper and our shrimp already, so we can add those later, and we'll talk about those in a few minutes. Okay, that guy's going. So I'm just going to put these guys in. This is a dish where you don't really have to brown your vegetables. There's, again, so much inherent spice in the red curry paste that you don't need to add a lot of brunoise or a lot of other brown within the dish. Alright, so while the onions are going, we're just going to let them simmer for a few minutes. We're going to do the red pepper. You can also add orange peppers to this. You can do green. I'm not a huge fan of green peppers. They can be a little bit more bitter, but I do really like red peppers, and peppers are really good for you. They have a lot of antioxidants in them, so I try to use the red peppers as much as I can. So again, we're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to kind of pull out the middle part, but we're going to cut it the same as the onion. So just quickly, we're going to cut it into slices. Okay, and then we'll just take these guys and we're going to cut them in half, just like the onions. Cut them in half. And again, we want these to be about the same size overall because it'll look better, and it'll also just cook better. They'll cook more evenly together. I'm just going to take the top of it and try to make the same size slices. And again, garbage bowl. That's awesome. Can't tell you how much I love a garbage bowl. Okay, these guys can go into, red peppers do take a while to cook, and these are gonna simmer for a little bit, and then they're gonna simmer with the red curry sauce. Alright, next, we've got garlic. So, the red curry sauce already has some garlic in it, the paste that you're gonna get at the store. I like to add some more layers of flavor to it and add a little bit more. You don't have to though. If you like a lot of garlic, go at it and put in as much as you want. I usually will put in a few extra cloves. You can do nothing or you can do a little bit. Red curry does have garlic in it, but you don't really taste it in the paste a lot. It's just kind of an inherent undertone. So if you want more, go for it. And I do. I love garlic. So you want to, typically with garlic, you want to chop it very finely because it's really strong if you get a huge bite of it. And I just realized, I told you guys to have the press, and then I'm chopping it up. So you can do it either way. You can press it if you want, which actually makes it really small and tight together, or you can just chop it. And I'm doing, I guess, the easy man's way, which is just to chop it quickly. Okay. So you can see that these guys are going nicely. They're just starting to get a good saute going. And again, we're not having it on a super high heat. You don't want it to brown. It's just kind of slowly cooking together. And I'm going to add now the garlic to it as well. Garlic can burn pretty easily, so never do it on a high heat because it'll just taste bitter if you burn it. Alright, so we're going to get the rest of these guys in here. Give it just a little swirl. Sweet. And let that do its thing. And our rice is still going, which is awesome. So I'm going to put these guys over here. Alright, so while we're waiting, we can do some of our garnishes. So with this dish, you can do the red curry just on its own, but I think that the garnishes actually really elevate it in flavor to that next level. The curry is really strong, and the garnishes are meant to kind of add a freshness and a lightness to it. So our garnishes are going to be these green onions, they're going to be the cilantro, and then a little bit of lime as well, and if you're super excited about it, some Szechuan, which I love, but they are uber hot. So you can also use jalapeno with it. But again, if your red curry is going to be spicy, you don't even need to add those at all. But I think that the other garnishes are really important. So with the green onions, you typically, I'm going to take off some of the sides here because they don't look that great, but definitely make sure you wash them. And then I'll use some of the green and then some of the white. So just dice them up fairly narrowly, and then you can just sprinkle them on top of the rest. Alright, so that's all you really need. You don't want to add a lot because they are pretty strong. Cilantro. Cilantro is fantastic. Not everybody likes it though, so definitely leave it on the side, and then people can add it as they want. So cilantro, again, we're just going to do a coarse chop here. And with cilantro, you can eat the stems. So I would say if you're doing like a sauce or a broth, put it in, like a soup. I tend to not put in too much though if it's just going to be a garnish, because it looks nicer if you just have kind of the fronds of it. Okay? Alright, so we've got these guys done here. Oh, I almost forgot ginger. So we're going to add the ginger to the sauce now, actually. And ginger's great. It is an anti-inflammatory. It cures a lot of stomach ailments. It's one of those superfoods like turmeric. I love using it. It's super strong, which I like. But you have to be careful and cut it very thinly because it is really strong. So again, like garlic, you want to make sure that you're not giving someone like a ginormous bite of ginger because it can be a little off-putting. So just make sure that you're cutting it pretty smallly. It's such a great ingredient though, and it's used everywhere, and it's so good for your health. And it tastes awesome. One of my favorite things is actually to have like ginger candy at night. It's so good. And it is pretty fibrous, so it does take a little bit of time to cut everything up. Oh, it smells so good though. And again, this is going to add some more freshness to the sauce as well. And so ginger. Smelling good already. That coconut oil. Coconut oil is just fantastic. Grab a paper towel here and just get myself a clean down. And then give this guy a switch around. So we've got the garlic in here, onion, red pepper, and now the ginger's going in. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit. Alright, so now for the red curry. I don't think I have that out yet actually. Okay, so red curry paste, this is not what you're going to get in the United States. What you do is you go to the international aisle in pretty much any grocery store nowadays, and there's going to be a little tin that's about this big, and it's going to say red curry on it, and that's what you're going to use. I looked for that down here in the Caribbean and could not find it for the life of me, so I made my own. And if you guys want the recipe, I'm happy to give that to you, but for ease of use, it's just super easy to go to the store and grab some yourself. It's fantastic. Again, international aisle, you can find it at Whole Foods, you can find it at almost any grocery store. Typically, what I would say is do 1 to 2 tablespoons of curry for your whole dish. The more tablespoons you put in, the spicier it's going to be. So start with 1, and then over time you can say, hey, I want a little more spicy. You can always add more. You can't take it out. My mom taught me that lesson. So I like it super spicy. So I'm going to put in 3 tablespoons. So I'm going to do that now. The more spice, the better, in my opinion. Alright, so we've got that in. And what you want to do is just, again, have that simmer a little bit. Just get some of the flavors going within the vegetables, etc. Oh my God, it's popping all over the place. Okay. So, for our next ingredient, one of the other key ingredients in a curry is coconut milk. And this is awesome. I mean, it's got such a great flavor. Coconut oil, coconut milk they've got a lot of fat in them, but this dish overall is extremely healthy. There's so many antioxidants in it with red peppers, you've got ginger, you've got garlic. I mean, everything in it is really healthy for you. And again, you can't say fat's our enemy. You can have a little bit of fat here and there. So we're going to put actually, you know what? I forgot. These are the exterior ingredients that you don't have to put in. I think they're an extra layer of flavor that I personally like to do. But again, they're not a need to have. So this is a little bit of rice wine vinegar. I almost forgot it. We're going to put that in 1 to 2 teaspoons. I almost always forget these guys too. I add them in later in the game. And then fish sauce. So fish sauce, if you smell it, kind of smells like armpit, I'm not going to lie. It's kind of like anchovies in the dish. It smells bad when you put it in, you put just a teeny bit in, and then you have this weird undercurrent of something that's just like that umami flavor where someone says, what did you put in here? So even though it doesn't smell that great, put a tiny bit in if you're daring enough, and it'll actually add a lot of depth of flavor. I'm just going to put in about a teaspoon. Okay, perfect. And I'm going to let that simmer for a minute. I'm glad I remembered those. I don't know I'm forgetting. Just give this guy a stir. We're going to deglaze the pan a little bit, which is good. Alright, now, the coconut milk. Alright, so I put in about 2/3 to 3/4 of a can for this dish. And again, you can always add more as you go along. If you want more of it, go for it. Okay, so we're just going to let this guy simmer for a few minutes. And even put this on so it gets going a little bit more. What's our rice doing? So our rice, we're going to get another spatula here to not dirty up the rice. The rice is doing well. Oopsie, it is slowly simmering as I splash some out the side. We'll probably need a few more minutes here. Okay, so we've got our accoutrements going. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more pepper to this. There's pepper in the red curry paste, but I like to add a little bit more. You don't need to add more salt to it. There's just so much flavor. But I do like to have a little bit more pepper going on. Okay. Awesome. So this guy's doing its thing. Now we can do the Scotch bonnet. Let me throw these ginger scraps here. So again, this garbage bowl has been collecting the whole time. It's a great technique to have, and it's so nice to try to keep your kitchen, especially with a small one, a little bit cleaner. Okay, so Scotch bonnets, they're hot. You don't need to use a Scotch bonnet. I like jalapenos. They're just like little red hot peppers that are also really good. We're in the Caribbean though, so heck yeah, why wouldn't you use a Scotch bonnet? But just judge your crowd. Like if they're not the kind of people who want to eat hot, don't give it to them. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually just taking the seeds out of the pepper. The seeds are the hottest part of the pepper. With something like a jalapeno, you leave them in because they're not that hot, but with a Scotch bonnet, you want to take them out generally. And again, this is going to be something for the side. Just make sure if you're doing this, your hands are going to have Scotch bonnet all over them, so like don't touch your eyes or your face afterwards. Some people use gloves. I think they're wusses. Don't tell them I said that though. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this into tiny little pieces because, again, it's hot. You don't want a huge bite of it. You know, if you're daring enough to eat it, you're still going to want a pretty small piece of it. Alright. Alright, so that is our second to last garnish. I'm going to push that over, not going to touch the other ones, and then the lime. So lime is great. You can roll over add a little bit to get the juices going on it. I'm actually going to give my knife a quick wash so that people don't get Scotch bonnet in their lime if they don't want it. Okay. And everything is cooking really nicely here. Okay, so lime, I'm just going to cut it in kind of pieces that people can squeeze. So just easy, you know, cut your lime into eighths. Perfect. Alright, so I think we have all the ingredients except for our protein. Alright, so here we have snapper that we caught today. It's in about an inch chunk, and then shrimp. And I'll typically do this with just shrimp. Again, you can do it with chicken, you can do it with fish, you can do it with shrimp, you can do it just with vegetables. That's what I love about this dish, is it's really whatever you want to make of it. So I'm going to put the snapper in first because it's going to take a little bit longer to cook. Alright. And then just put the top on for a minute. And then we can check on our rice again. So often with rice, what I'll do is I will actually put it on, have it come up to a boil, and then just turn it off and keep the lid on and let it do its thing. But that's when you have a fair amount of time and you're not really worried about time. But I wanted to get this done quickly for you guys. So you can see our diffuser is working really nicely. The rice is, I don't know if you can see here, but not at all sticking. It's really nice and moist, which is what you want. You want everything to cook evenly. So let's give this guy a little bit of a taste and see how it's done. Almost there. A teeny bit of bite left to it, but we really are almost there with the rice, which is perfect, because this guy's almost done too. Alright, so the fish has been cooking for a minute. I'm going to add the shrimp. Shrimp, people overcook all the time. So you want to be sure that you're careful with your shrimp. Putting them in. The fish has been on just, I don't know, a minute now probably. And then the shrimp will only need a sec too. They're not going to need a lot. And again, you should err on the side of cooking them less versus overcooking them, because if you overcook them, man, that sucks. They're just like tough and not fun to eat. Alright, so we're almost done here. And I'm going to post the recipe below so that you guys can have it and just print it out for your own in terms of this. But again, make it your own. I mean, you can put whatever proteins you want in it, whatever vegetables you want in it. It's really a nice dish in that sense. And what I like about it also is that it takes less than 30 minutes to cook, and kids really like it. So you can hide a ton of vegetables in it, which is great. Or whatever. I mean, even like shrimp or fish. But again, it's nice because you can make it of it whatever you want. Alright. So this is pretty much done, which is great. Okay. So let me get our plates out here. Plate. Rice. So again, I really like the basmati rice because it's got that floral element to it, which will be really nice in contrast to the spiciness of the red curry. So we're going to just put a little bit of that guy on here. Oh, it smells so good. Basmati is just, I lived in India for a while and we had it all the time there. It's one of my favorite races. If it's my favorite, actually, I should say. Okay, so this guy's done too. We're going to turn both of them off. And then let me actually get a spoon out here. By the way, when I said that I flew from the U.S. with all my kitchen ingredients, or kitchen utensils and stuff, pretty much all of them fit in this drawer. So just to tell you, you can really do good cooking within just a little bit of a drawer here. So, okay. I'm going to grab this guy out here because I want to get a lot of that sauce. Alright, oh my gosh, this looks so good. Okay, so we've got our fish here, we've got the red peppers, onions, garlic, ginger, I mean really everything. It smells so good. Great sauce. Oh, so good. And the sauce is my favorite part. And again, you know, if you like spice, put a lot of that red curry paste in, and if you don't, just put a little bit in. You know, if you have kids, then you're not going to want to put a ton of it in, but it's really up to you. Okay, we're going to get these guys going here. Perfect. And then the garnishes. So we've got our scallions we're going to put on top. I'll spread them evenly around. And again, I'm kind of a no-fuss cook. You know, I want it to look good, but at the same time, if I perfectly, that's okay too. And then a lot of scotch bonnet. I'm not gonna lie, I just love the heat there. Okay, and then the lime. So the lime is a big part. The cilantro and the lime really add that freshness, and I think that they just, as I said, really elevate the dish. Okay, and then we can put a few extra limes on the side here, just in case people want them. Alright, so I don't want to pour this out the side here, but I also want to show you guys. So this is our dish, Thai red curry. It's a great dish. I hope that you guys tell me what else you'd like to learn in your comments and try to make this dish and let me know how it goes. And thanks so much, and tune in for the next time of the Galley Gourmet. Thank you.